Coming up on this week's show, Hogwarts Legacy launches to rave reviews, Pedro Pascal stars in the video game adaptation that we all really want, and the Nintendo Direct gave us possibly the greatest shadow drop of all time. Hello friends and welcome to the Weekend Catch-Up Club podcast, the coffee morning show brought to you each week where friends hang out and chat about some of the latest stories going on in the industry. You can follow the show on all your favourite platforms or watch the video version over on youtube.com/gamertagged. This is episode 94 and joining me as always is the man with the personality of a can of orange tango, the king of the tangent, Jamie, with a fabulous beard. Good lord, that beard is, I love it.
It's out of control. Like I don't know. I think I need a strimmer at this point. You know, I'm gonna cut it, but I'm
Weed
not.
whacker, as the Americans say.
Yeah, it's a weird term. There's a
I don't know where
very
it comes
strange.
from.
I mean, I suppose it makes sense if you think about it. It literally whacks weeds.
Yeah,
But-
I mean, I guess a strimmer is like we call it a strimmer, or like, is that more kind of garden terms, like garden equipment terms for Americans? Like, why are you using a strimmer on your hair, or vice versa, kind of thing, isn't it? You know,
I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't expecting to have a whole couple of the truck in this morning, but my brain's shut down already. This does not bode well. But yeah,
this is the
weed
new
whack.
podcast. We're talking about facial hair and men's products. That's what we're
Yeah.
talking about now, and garden equipment. And
yeah.
and the crossover relationship between weed whackers and hair clippers.
Yeah, it's there's got to be a pun in there. So hair today, no, I'll come up with something. But no, weed whackers definitely. Although it does, because it sounds a little bit more forceful, it does mean that it's better for like film and game and stuff. Because there's always that one game or film where it's like, and then he kills him with a weed whacker. Like
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
can you imagine it being like, and then he takes him out with a Black & Decker strimmer?
It's not quite the same, is it? Yeah, it's not like
Not the same one.
it's not the Arnie quip to when he's killed the bad guy. You know, it's not like an Hasta La Vista baby where you're like, we've got him with a weed whacker. It's like,
Yeah,
the Black,
you know, like-
Black & Decker strimmer, not quite the same.
Whacked him. Is about the only thing I can think of. But okay, strim. Again, I don't think there's a pun there. That's
They probably will,
Nah.
but it's too early on the weekend for us recording this to come up with anything that clever, I guess.
It
You know,
is, and I haven't had caffeine yet, which is a travesty, quite frankly.
it is.
On
I
the-
don't know why. I don't know why. I usually
On the
have my.
water today.
I've got water as well. I usually have my big kind of mug of iced coffee just kind of sitting to the side here, and I'm good to go, and I'm happy. I've got like my vanilla latte going, and it's great. But I don't know what's going on today. It's just a comedy of errors, I think, today.
Nah, just
I know.
go make a mug of black coffee so thick you can stand a spoon in it. That's what I'm gonna do.
See, there we go. It's just treacle, but
Yeah,
a coffee variant of it.
I like to chew my coffee.
Like tobacco, and you spit it into a little bowl afterwards
Yeah,
as well.
God, it's horrible, isn't it? With a spittoon in the corner.
Anyway, let's get back on point here. Episode 94, Jamie. We're inching ever closer to the magic 100. Only 6 weeks to go, or actually 5
Mhm.
after this. But today's show is going to be really, really good fun. I'm going to be talking about Hogwarts Legacy, which has launched to rave reviews. I've been playing the first few hours of it, and I'm really, really liking it. We have a Nintendo Direct to talk about. It's probably going to be the bulk of the show. So we'll save that toward the end. And some two fairly quick topics to talk about is the PlayStation Plus monthly games is just been announced, and Pedro Pascal is going to be starring in a new video game adaptation from Nintendo, and it's Mario Kart. And
It's
so we got to talk about that. But first off, let's talk about the PlayStation Plus monthly games. Nice and easy. We can batter it out fairly quickly in the next few minutes. So they're actually giving some really good games this month. I mean, it's usually pretty good anyway. Same with the Xbox, obviously Game Pass games and stuff as well. But this month we're getting Evil Dead, the game, which is I'm really looking forward to because I was looking at it, but I had never picked it up, and now I don't have to pay for it because it's coming on the monthly sub. And also Ollie Ollie World, which is a fantastic little skater game. Obviously, the developers Roll 7 also did Rollerdrome, and Ollie Ollie World is fantastic as well. Great art style, really, really good. They're giving the expansion pack to Destiny 2 Beyond Light for free, which is great. It's been on Game Pass, everything, I think, including Beyond Light for quite a while, but it's great that it's now coming to PlayStation as part of the sub as well. And quite a big one, actually. The Mafia 1 remaster, which is called Mafia Definitive Edition, is getting rolled out as part of the subscription as well. So really strong month for games if you are on the lookout for something new, something hilarious in the Evil Dead, which also coincides with its new, apparently there's a battle royale mode for Evil Dead the game. So it's quite a high player count as well, apparently it allows for. So you can imagine the hilarity of all of the different characters all going together in the zaniness of the Evil Dead universe, multiverse, whatever.
Love it.
For a battle royale. It just seems too good to be true, and I think we're going to have to check that out at some point.
It's a good selection. The one that stands out to me, Evil Dead, is one that I've been wanting to try just because I love the franchise so much. I adore the original films, and if you've not seen Ash vs. Evil Dead, the series they did more recently, oh God, it's so funny.
Good. Okay.
It's amazing. Like Bruce Campbell, he's back as Ash, but he's in his like 50s, and he's still working as just a guy in a like a B&Q. Can't remember what the American B&Q is called, but he's working in one of those, and he accidentally brings back the Deadites because he gets high and reads part of the Necronomicon again because he's trying to impress a girl and thinks it's poetry. And he fucks up. I mean, it's just, it's so tongue-in-cheek, and it rips the piss out of itself. Lee Majors is in it as his dad, and it's just
so good.
It's amazing. So yeah, Lucy Lawless is in it. She pops up. She's brilliant. And,
oh my God!
So yeah, really good.
All the cult actors coming back for this.
Yeah, it's excellent, and it really does keep the Evil Dead vibe, like even down to like the Sam Raimi camera angle, the scuttering camera.
Yeah.
Got all of that in it, so it's a brilliant show and it's really good fun. And so it's a franchise I love, and the game looks like really good fun, but I haven't actually dived in at all. So obviously I'm not on PlayStation, but that's a really good one to get. And Ollie World's just gorgeous looking. So yeah. That's a damn good selection.
Solid little lineup, and I'm just reading here that Roll 7 actually won the BAFTA for award-winning independent studio, which is fantastic. So, and Ollie World is just one of those games where it's tailor-made for little quick sessions. You pick it up. It's a pure kind of arcade game. You do some kick flips and some slides. I don't know the terms. I'm not one of the hip kids for the skater world, but the half pipe stuff. Yeah, exactly. And just a great little game. So I'm going to definitely be checking that out. And I just can't wait to play more video games, of which I'm drowning in video games, Jamie. There's so much to play at the moment. It's getting ridiculous, especially with. I'm going to have to cancel my Game Pass subscription because they keep coming with this tidal wave of banger games, and same with PlayStation. It's like just give me room to breathe to clear some games, please. It's an embarrassment of riches, and we shouldn't really complain.
It is. I mean, I like to complain. It's something to do when I'm not playing video games. But it's a friend of mine has a theory that eventually, and in the not too distant future, we will all be owned by Disney.
Yes.
We will all be available on Games Pass. There will be a Funko Pop of all of us, and we will all be voiced by one of the cast members of Critical Role. Just because that seems to be the taking over everything in the world. Everything's on Games Pass now. So, and not, I love it. It's so good.
I
So
I don't mind being voiced by any of the members by Critical Role as long as I'm not voiced by Chris Pratt. I'll be happy with that. Like
yeah,
anybody
like
else
no
would
one.
be totally fine.
Yeah, no one needs that.
Poor Chris Pratt. Uh, I'm still looking forward to the Mario movie. Like really, really looking forward to that. But this actually opens up a really perfect segue. So thank you for teeing that up for me, Jamie. There's a contender who has thrown his little Mario cap into the ring for a live action nightmare fueled depiction of Nintendo's beloved characters and world. And I have to admit, when I saw the trailer, not only did I laugh my ass off, but it is
Hey,
the
man.
stuff of nightmares. It was the horror I was thinking about when I heard that they were making a live action Pokemon movie. And I
Yep.
thought, this is the stuff of nightmares. Why would you ever want to have this photorealistic, and not anatomically correct, but as if the biology of the Pokemon creatures would actually work in the real world? Why would you do that to the children? Why would you do that to us? And that's
Yep.
exactly what we got with this very, very funny Saturday Night Live sketch starring Pedro Pascal. And it is a live action game trailer. Incredibly well done for a Mario Kart the movie. And it's like they took The Last of Us, obviously because he's starring in the Last of Us TV show, and made a zombie horror movie in the Mushroom Kingdom with the Rainbow Road and the Goombas and the Luigi and Princess Peach. And it's so funny. So funny. I hope the video, because I'm going to overlay it when the VOD version goes up. So I hope it doesn't get copyright struck or anything like that, because I want to like have it up there whilst we're talking about it. But I loved it. I couldn't believe. I was like, okay, now we need this. This has to happen because it's too well done for just a skit on
Yep.
SNL. We need this. Please deliver this. So over to you, Jamie.
That's the thing. I watched that, and I saw I saw it like pop up on my Twitter feed. I was like, oh, this will be good, because the SNL have got, obviously pedigree for stuff like this, and I was like, okay, this will be good. And Pedro Pascal is so fantastic about taking the piss out of himself. He
Yeah,
doesn't take. I can't remember what actor it was or director I was watching an interview with, and they said that it's ridiculous of us to take ourselves too seriously because we make believe. It's Kevin Smith. He said we basically play make believe for a living.
yeah,
And it's true. Like, so you got to have a bit of fun with it. And Pedro Pascal is one of the best because he just, like, all the interviews popping up of him, like he's the internet's daddy now, and all of this stuff. He loves it. He's having the best time.
yeah.
So I thought, I'll watch this, and like you said, I laughed my ass off, but at the same time, I was like, I would kind of watch this. This is actually. I mean, I recently watched that Nicolas Cage, basically Five Nights at Freddy's film, which is absolutely ridiculous, called Wally's Wonderland.
Oh right, God, I forgot about that. He's made some
Yeah,
weird shit. Yeah,
it's Nick Cage,
he's Nick Cage, exactly.
that's the answer to everything. So why? Because Nick Cage, and
Yeah,
so I watched that, and I was like, this is absolutely ridiculous and stupid and pointless, and nothing about this makes sense, and I love it. Everything. This one of I had a great time, and I think this would be like that. I think they could actually get away with making this,
oh my
and I
God.
think it would be brilliant because it would
Yeah,
be so bizarre. So, and the attention to detail in the sketch is really good as well. All the little musical stabs and the the broken question mark blocks and all that
yeah.
sort of stuff. Oh,
It
fell
was
in love.
it was one of the lines as well where it was the look of terror on Pascal's face when he I can't remember which character he was turning to, but he's like, we have to take the Rainbow Road, and everybody knows the Rainbow Road track from Mario Kart is like the worst. It's the most.
Horrible.
Yeah, because everybody falls off the Rainbow Road, and it was just those little nods. Like the script, clearly the writers had such a good time coming up with the sketch. It's like, what can we throw in there as little Easter eggs and references that the players will get, and then anybody who doesn't know will just find it funny in general. And man, it was just it was like hard drinking, Mario who's done some shit, and he's like,
Yeah.
it's a me, Mario. Like he's just He's just like he's had to stomp on a lot of Goombas just to survive in this world, and it's taken its toll on him. And he's probably an alcoholic at this point, and he's not happy. He's not. It's a me. It's me, Mario.
Which is still a better delivery than Chris Pratt. That's the
Oh,
other
you
thing.
went there.
Of course I did. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if we campaigned hard enough. You see what they did with Sonic when the graphics were hideous and they were like, no,
Sure.
and everyone complained. Maybe if we campaign hard enough, we can get Chris Pratt, like really 11th hour replaced by Pedro Pascal.
Well, I mean, you never know if there's a petition out there. I'm sure there's lots of petitions out there already. I think they were petitioning for one of the other translated languages to be the voice and just swap that out for us.
Yeah,
because some of them were fantastic.
A lot of people, obviously, we've talked at length about Chris Pratt being a weird choice, even though the film looks great. But yeah, no, I really want them to make this Pedro Pascal version of this Mario Kart, and it does beg the question as well. Look, I've had this discussion. I know I've had this discussion at like 3 a.m. while playing Valorant or something, and as there's got to be other gritty, ridiculously gritty reboots or versions you could make of beloved games. I saw there is a fan short out there. I've seen it somewhere for Tetris as a horror movie.
Right? How does that work?
There's someone like in a pit basically, and there's bricks landing on them, and they're pushing them to one side hurriedly, trying to. It was animated, but it might have been an old Newgrounds type, so like that kind of era.
Okay. That sounds like it could be. I mean, that would be actually that premise that you've explained there as to how it could work live action would be brilliant for a puzzle room nightmare fueled horror movie. Like was it The Cube back in the day where everybody's in different rooms and they. Or that kind of thing, and they have to solve these puzzles, or it's like the most horrific death if they fail it, getting smashed by a giant block coming down, like bang, and then game over sort of thing. God.
Yeah, it would. It's there's potential out there for some really. I mean, they made Battleship for fuck's sake. So
that was trying to be like Independence Day by another name, and trying to tie it very loosely to the board game Battleship. But anyway, I digress. But it was that stars Rihanna, didn't it? I think it was Rihanna that was in that.
Liam Neeson was in that as well.
Oh yeah, he was like the admiral, the gruff admiral. Yeah, sure. Yeah, it was. I mean, straight to video fodder, but it was. We could have a whole episode of just the worst video game adaptations before we've got to this zenith point where we are just now. We're actually getting really good adaptations. We've overcome that disappointment and tidal wave of really bad adaptations and just like Yui Bowl level of movies.
That was exactly what I was thinking. We had to absolutely get to the bottom of the barrel, straight through it to find Yui Bowl. Then we hit the era of actually decent adaptations. I mean, there is some dross out there, but these days, I mean, The Last of Us, obviously I haven't watched Last of Us yet still, but it looked phenomenal and the internet is exploding with joy over it, which is great. So, but yeah, just obviously Last of Us, I know I believe it's getting another series.
Season 2, yeah, apparently going to be following the part 2 of the game, yeah.
It's just a shame that it's going to be delayed now because they're going to be making the Mario Kart movie.
I hope so. Yeah. To be fair, Ellie has to age up like 5 or 6 years between the first game and the second game. So there's a window there to squeeze in a Mario Kart movie and Mandalorian's seasons 4 and 5, and then we'll get The Last of Us season 2.
I should watch The Mandalorian at some point.
Jamie, come on, seriously. Of all the things to not watch, Mandalorian.
I haven't seen any recent Star Wars since the second movie. Nothing.
I mean, what do I say to that? How do I respond to that? Without
It's
by still ensuring that I love you and I don't just hurl abuse at you.
no, I deserve it. I'll take some abuse. It's not even through. There's no reason for it either. Just haven't watched it. Just haven't got to it yet. It's
There's too
terrible.
much content. There's too much TV. We gotta pick our battles. That's the thing, and that's why
Yeah,
Sarah and I are normally here to fill you in and to get you whipped up into a frenzy to say, okay, now I need to watch that because I really really want to go back and watch all of the Buffy stuff and Angel stuff because very little of Angel have I actually seen. I watched all of the Buffy stuff, but when it splintered off, I think I've only seen the first season of Angel, so I've got a huge gap there of where that season goes. And there's tons of stuff I haven't played or been exposed to either. So we can't talk. We can't sling mud or anything like that because
no,
nobody has seen everything. It's impossible.
I was trying for a while, and then I hit a point that I was like, I can't keep up. So Al always takes the piss because he says like I haven't seen anything past. Like he said the other day, he asked me if I'd seen the film. He said, "Oh, you won't have got to that yet. It's 98, and you're still on what 1989?" Because
Yeah.
I'm catching up slowly on everything, but I watch all the stuff from that era. Like I think of the amount of I've seen every episode of Murder She Wrote, Columbo, Diagnosis Murder, 18,
Yeah.
Morecambe and Wise 2, like the amount of stuff that I've watched, but not.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing up to date for a while. I really should do that.
Yeah, I swear, I know this is really subjective, but I swear the 80s had the most creative, like, Hollywood output, I think. They really
Yeah.
did. Like, all the weird stuff we had Police Academy, we had Batteries Not Included, Short Circuit, Flight of the Navigator,
Oh,
Darrow,
finally.
all of these amazing, like, weird high concept movies. And I really want to go back and watch them all. If I can track them down, I would love to see that because I think a few of them are now available digitally, but trying to source a DVD or anything like that, or even if they made it to DVD, because back then it was VHS, and probably Betamax. Jamie, that's how far back
Oh Jesus,
that
yeah.
is.
And the odd laser disc here and there.
Oh, do you remember the advent of Laserdisc? And this is what's ironic about Laserdisc because I loved them. They were record size CDs. It was
Yep.
amazing. I never had one. We never had a player or anything like that. There were so few and far between. The amount of, like, if you've heard of somebody, it was like legend. Like, this person, there's a rumor that this person has a Laserdisc player. But I remember when it was Virgin Records in my hometown, they had a whole section of Laserdisc movies. And I remember Star Wars, the original cut, was on Laserdisc. And I think it's still highly coveted, really, really difficult to get. And the irony there is that George Lucas was very quick to adopt Laserdisc, but it took him forever to port or get a remastered print of the movies over to Blu-ray and eventually to 4K. But yeah, they were like one of the first ones to get the Laserdisc treatment, and it was wild.
Yeah,
I remember seeing the classic film poster artwork on this record-sized sleeve, and it was Laserdisc. THX remastered and stuff. I'm thinking, oh my god, that's like the holy grail of Laserdiscs.
It's a beautiful thing. I've seen a couple float about on eBay now and again that I'd quite like to, not to, obviously never to play it out of player, and I don't even know if you'd be able to get one these days, but not without paying thousands, but
sure,
just to put on the wall, just a frame and put on the wall like some. And there was a film recently released on Laserdisc, and I cannot remember what it was. It'll
still
come to
producing
me
them.
So, well, it's the same as, obviously everything, vinyl has never gone away, but it got
Sure.
a real resurgence. There was a thing with Laserdisc for like a couple of, like it was one director who was a big proponent of it back in the day, and he released like a special edition of something, and it was on Laserdisc. So, it's gonna bug the crap out of me until I remember what the hell it was. And I refuse to look it up. So if I haven't remembered it by the end of this episode, gentle viewer, go and find out for yourself. I've failed miserably. But it's it happens. Like there's been a few releases of recent films on VHS and like recent songs on cassette. Like there's been a real retro revival in format, which is awesome for owning for collector's edition.
Sure. Yeah.
It's shit for playing because no one's got the equipment to anymore. So, but you never play it, like, you know. But I mean, I miss the old formats. I miss VHS, and for one reason only. A DVD far superior, Blu-ray superior again, and obviously we've got digital now. But I miss VHS because, by God, they look good on the shelf. They were chunky.
The big chunky cassette tapes. I know.
Yeah, and you got the ones where if you bought like a box set of something, the spines had different parts of a picture.
Yeah.
So you had art on your shelves. It was gorgeous.
See, this is opening up a whole other conversation to packaging for physical products like digital consumption. We talked about that last week about titles being delisted, and there's still a huge demographic, myself included, that wants to buy the physical things, to have the disc, to have the cartridge or the tape or the cassette or whatever. But what we don't really talk about is the actual luxury packaging that a lot of the collector's editions came in. And I talked to you a while back about my original DVD collection of all of the Buffys, and they came in a case that was like a book, and it was like one of the ancient books that the characters got. Giles, that Giles would like the incantation books that Giles would teach Buffy about the demons and everything like that. And it was just amazing because like these are actual physical, almost like hardback little books, and the pages were the DVD sleeves, and like damn, physical media has such great things out there, you know, different iterations of physical media.
See, I remember when PC games were all boxes, you know, about this big.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah,
I've still got a few of them down in storage. I had Alien Trilogy, MDK, Warhammer Dark Omen. I've still got my Dark Omen key rings. I bought the special edition of Dark Omen, right? Which was literally the game in a box, nothing extra, but it came with a key ring. And I was like, oh my God, it's got a key ring. I will take all my money, or my parents' money probably, but that's mine. And yeah, I was absolutely over the moon to own this fucking key ring. And you know the irony of it? At the time, I didn't even have keys. I grew up in a rural area. We never locked the fucking door, so I didn't have a key to the house. But I had a key ring. But I loved it. And one of my favourite things about old games, which you just don't get these days because you don't get physical versions, is maps. I miss maps. I remember the F-15 Strike Eagle 2 by Microprose, right? This was vector.
Well, going back if it's Microprose, yeah.
Yep. This was line drawing. It's still my favourite flight simulator of all time. Absolutely fantastic game. And it came with 4 maps of the 4 different areas that you were involved in combat. So there was Vietnam, there was the Gulf, I can't remember all of them. But these maps were gorgeous representations of the land that you flew over, and it had all the SAM sites and stuff marked out on it. And I had them up on my wall at one point because I was playing a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I had them pegged up on my wall so I could follow them out, and it was great. But you don't get stuff like that these days. My God, I sound old.
Well, we are old, to be fair, and it's always exciting when a new game gets released and you say there's a collector's edition, and one of the USPs about this collector's edition, this physical edition, is it says it comes with a real cloth map. And you sometimes get that. I think Skyrim had that, or maybe it was Oblivion or something like that. It's like, yeah, we're going to bundle in an actual map for this. And I remember my collector's edition for Ghost of Tsushima. Not that old, it's only a couple of years old, but I had to get it because it came with Jin Sakai's mask, like this Japanese Oriental mask that he wears. You can't wear it because there's no. I mean, you could maybe affix some straps to it and you could put it on, but it is like life size, but it's on a little stand, a little presentation stand, and it comes with a map of the island of Tsushima, but it's like it's not silk. But it is that silky kind of material. It's fabric material, and it's been painted like a tapestry or something like that, like an ink painting or something. And you can actually hang it up and be decorative, and you wouldn't necessarily know that it's a map for the game, and like that's one of the few that still does it. And there's a few others that still bundle in that it's not just a printed like glossy paper map; it's an actual fabric cloth map, and it's like, oh, this is special. This is so special, and it's the great thing about physical media. But those collector sets are or can be incredibly expensive these days, whereas before, as you said, it was just part of the regular price of it. Came bundled in with about 10 CDs or 20 3.5-inch floppy disks back then, with a big chunky ass full color instruction manual and a big cardboard box to house everything, and that was it.
I miss them. They were beautiful things. I actually the other one I had with the map was Battle of Britain, and that came on 3.5-inch and 5.25-inch floppy. That's
5.25. That's
that goes.
Yeah.
When they actually were floppy, you could fan yourself with one in the summer.
Yeah, God, that was because my dad used to have a BBC Micro computer. This is going back 40 years, and I remember it. And oh God, those things were ginormous. I mean, the irony again, going back to the irony of that is if you play the video game by Remedy, which is called Control, there's one of the like the possessed objects that has, I don't know, significance in the game at various points as different objects, and they're always super retro objects, and one of them is a 5.25-inch floppy disk, and you see Jesse Faden trying to like harness the power of the supernatural thing that's imbued within this object. And I giggled when I saw it, because like there must be so many people, so many gamers today that have no idea what that object is. But yeah, it's an old 5.25-inch floppy disk.
That, the depressing sort of roundup to that is that, coming full circle, I saw someone post on Twitter a little while ago that they found someone had 3D printed the save icon.
Yes.
And of course, it's a fucking floppy disk. And they were genuine about it. I'm like, I give up. I can't. That's not okay. It's like I mentioned to someone as well about I've been playing, so I've been doing this retro streaming thing, and I've been playing a lot of old games with emulated versions of games that I own in my attic.
Sure.
Throw that out there. But the Spectrum emulator, it actually has, it looks like it's loading tape and that in the background. And I made a reference while streaming it about, I was like, oh no, it's not fucking working, we'll have to do that. no one knew what that meant.
Get the pencil in and wind the tape. So yeah, because the tape's a little bit loose, so you got to tighten it up. Yeah, and the sprockets.
And there's a couple of people in chat, they're like, well, what do you mean do that? I'm like, oh fuck. It's official. I am now an antique. Fantastic.
Yeah, when your audience is, you're not just one generation older than your audience, Jamie. You're at least 2, potentially 3 generations above them. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Man. Well, that was a tangent. How did we even get onto that? I don't even know where we started. I think we were talking about Mario Kart, and then this is where we ended up. So wonderful.
Not a clue.
Anyway, let's go on to Hogwarts Legacy. The game came out. I had pre-ordered the deluxe edition. I've been looking forward to it from everything I had seen on the whole run up to it, and it has launched to. I am shocked at how well it has been reviewing and it has been received. It always looked good, but I always thought it does look good, but it's probably going to be a mid-tier kind of game. It's going to be probably average to good, but it's not going to be exceptional. And looking at OpenCritic today, it is sitting at an average of 85, which is really high. Wow. That gets the mighty rating, and it's been breaking records. It's been smashing Twitch concurrent viewer records by over 1 million concurrent viewers. Now that it's officially out, because that record was smashed on the early access, the 3 days early access for deluxe edition players only. And now that it's officially out, came out on Friday, it has like 500,000 concurrent viewers on Steam, and I don't know about obviously the console numbers or anything like that, but it is doing some banger numbers, and I believe it is Warner Brothers' biggest title launch ever. And that's quite impressive considering that they had the Lord of the Rings games with Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War and a whole bunch of other games, not least the historical legacy games based on movies, because it's Warner Brothers, right? And it's obviously fantastic. So I've been playing the first kind of, I'm about 3 hours in, so this is definitely not a review or anything like that, but it's just my kind of impressions so far. And I gotta say, Jamie, it is fantastic. They have done such an amazing job just capturing the world, capturing the whole feel of what you remember the movies to be like, and they've just packed it with so much detail and so much, and it sounds corny as heck to say it, but so much magic. It feels magical, like a different type of fantasy game that is just kind of joyful to just wander around the school, go to Hogsmeade, and just be part of this very different style of fantasy wizarding world that's very unique to obviously the Harry Potter universe. And the whole scene where you put on the sorting hat and you get to choose your house, it is straight out of the movies. Like, the voice actor sounds like the movie voice actor. I can't remember who it was. It was an older actor, Leslie something.
Leslie Phelps.
Well, yes. Whoever is doing an impression, or whether they used AI to use the actor's sound bites or whatever, I don't know. But it's so close and so good. And Simon Pegg as Nigellus Black, I should say, as the headmaster. Like, the voice acting across the board so far is outstanding. And obviously the big question that we were a little bit kind of concerned about is, but what about the combat? What about casting spells? How does that feel? And I can honestly say it's just a lot of fun. It's very slick and just a lot of fun. It's not Dragon Age mages or Dragon Balls, like throwing out world-ending magic, or because Harry Potter and the Hogwarts is not like that. But it's like you're tapping the button and you're just like flicking out little kind of damaging spells for enemies and things like that, and trolls and knights. And then if you press and hold it, you bring up the face buttons, and then you can cast like Stupefy or Leviosa or things. And so you can temporarily levitate and stun and things like that. And you still got dodge. You've got like a parry counter and things like that by pressing I'm on PlayStation, so it'd be the triangle button, it'd be the Y on Xbox. And the whole thing just feels very slick and just a lot of fun. And then at various points, little objects will be highlighted, so you can tap one of the bumpers and the character will automatically grab that and like telekinesis throw it, kind of thing, to enemies to quickly crowd control and that kind of stuff. So again, it's mechanics that have been used in other games, but the implementation here is just really slick, really fun. So you're not fighting with the combat. It's not boring. It's just like, you're just really fun. You're zipping about. You're casting off spells left, right, and center. And it's all very intuitive. And then you can just wander around Hogwarts, really get to explore all the different rooms, the dark arts dueling chambers, the potions areas of the classrooms and everything, in a way that we wanted to as we were kids, either reading the books or watching the movies, to say, like, I really want to explore unbridled exploration. Just let me wander the halls of Hogwarts. And they have done such a spectacular job in just packing it filled with detail. And if you're a fan, I would say you got to check this out, because it's turned out so much better than I was expecting or hoping it could be. I was hoping it was going to be, at the very least, good. I wasn't expecting it to be this good, and I'm looking forward to... I haven't even got my broom yet. I've just made it to Hogsmeade, and I got to choose my wand at Ollivander's, Wizards and Wands, and whatever the proper name is. I mean, it's got everything in there that you remember from the movies and everything like that, and the books. And just getting to exist in this world as a character that you create and walk around and just get to explore, it's like, this is what we wanted. This is a mega budget, big AAA game that Harry Potter and this universe, this world, has never had before. It's always been movie tie-ins, and probably the best ones up until this point have been the Lego games. And
Yes.
as good as they are, this is something different because it is a proper third person, character driven. You create your character. It's very story driven. It's got great mechanics. It's top tier across the board of graphics and the atmosphere and the presentation and the music, Jamie. The music is straight out of Chris Columbus's Philosopher's Stone, the movie. And I mean, it's got all the little kind of plinky, ploppy inflections of musical instruments, and it's got the rousing choruses as well, and they did such a good job, and I just can't wait to can we wrap this up right now and I can just go play Hogwarts? Thank you very much. We'll make it a half episode.
I'm good. I got Valorant to play.
But super impressed so far, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where the story goes and how the characters develop and all the different storylines are kind of further introduced. And I haven't even got a hippogriff yet. I haven't even found, I guess it would be the equivalent of whoever Hagrid is, who's curating the creatures and things like that. So obviously Hagrid won't be in this. It's too early in the timeline, but who is that groundskeeper, that's doing all of the Fantastic Beasts stuff? And I just can't wait to just fully explore the grounds properly, because the map has barely opened up yet. It's just the Hogwarts School and the little village of Hogsmeade. That's not even the open world has been opened up to me yet. And I don't have my broom yet, so I can't even fly around anywhere. But there's like the way in which it introduces new spells to you is just very, very clever and just fun. Just really fun. It's like, oh, excellent. I get to now learn a new spell. I can't remember the name of it. It was one, it can throw a little fireball. It's got an actual name and I've forgotten it, but imagine if you had the motion control Kinect, you would wave the wand around in a pattern on the screen. So
Yeah.
it's like that, but you just do it with a thumbstick, and you're tracing a symbol on the screen with certain button prompts, and then you've learned the spell, and then it goes into your inventory to be able to quick swap it and assign it to a face button. Just very, very good. Just very solid, very complete at the moment, and God, I'm just really enjoying it. Really enjoying it.
I'll need to check it out. It's definitely on the list, but obviously so many games are. But I played a lot of the Harry Potter games over the years, as well as the Lego ones. I played a lot of the ones that came to console because they were great for picking up and maxing for achievements. They were usually quite,
Yeah.
and they were fun. They were actually really good fun. A lot of them, a lot of them were a little janky and didn't do this and didn't do that, and there was no perfect game, and they were all film tie-in, but they were fun. And yeah, I'm seeing such. I mean, obviously, I'm seeing fantastic talk about the game itself. But there's obviously a lot of furore surrounding it, which is a different thing. And I've seen a lot of people questioning whether or not they're allowed to enjoy it, essentially. And
yeah,
my take on that was kind of, I saw someone who had a really good notion for it. They said basically they went out and bought the game because the world means a lot to them. It's a universe that they've been heavily invested in. Yep. They went out and bought the game. They turned around and made a donation to a charity to offset it. Was their particular brand of sort of dealing with it. But I think if you're a fan of Harry Potter, you've been waiting for this for a long time. Let yourself enjoy it. I think it's okay to enjoy it, and it looks fucking amazing. Like, I've watched little snippets of people playing it on Twitch and little bits and pieces of YouTube clips, just little bits. I haven't. Quite often, if I'm not going to play a game for a while, I'll sit and watch someone play it, just to sort of get rid of the FOMO. With this one, I've kind of avoided doing it too much because I feel like this is one that I'm going to try and get into relatively quick. We'll see how fast I manage to actually, pick up a copy and dive in, because I've got so many games on the go and so little time. But it's just such a fantastic, rich world, and there's so much to do in there. The fact that they finally got an open world game, although it's another one of these things that I sit there and think, give me an MMO set in this world, but you can't have everything.
I mean, they must be thinking about that, right? They must be saying, okay, we're investing heavily into this game to gauge the interest for that, especially with everything going on, as you say, and is it going to be successful enough to warrant an investment for something like an MMO, which is a massive undertaking and a huge ongoing investment as well. It's not just like the game is launched, that's kind of it. You don't really have any further expenditure on the game. An MMO is a living thing, a living, breathing thing. It will last for years, and if World of Warcraft is anything to go by, it will last for decades if it's done really, really well. And Final Fantasy is proving how well it can be done. And it's one of those worlds that it seems so obvious, like Star Wars Galaxies or Star Wars The Old Republic. It seems so obvious that, yeah, of course you're going to have an MMO for this world. It's so rich, and you can create any character, any job role or any kind of class within this world. And this is tailor-made again for, it's just like when we were geeking out over a potential Witcher MMO. Like you choose the school, you choose the school of combat that you want to do in the Witcher, whether it's the bear, school of the bear, or school of the cat, or whatever. And here, of course, it makes total sense. You create your character, your student, and you put yourself into Slytherin or Gryffindor or Hufflepuff. And there's the Quidditch could be a whole thing in itself. Like constant leagues of Quidditch matches is just a thing. It could be just a thing, and then there's races or things like that, or the PvP is there already for the dark arts, defense against the dark arts. It could be that's your whole PvP environment. Yep. It could be done really, really well, but it's a massive undertaking, of course, to do it well. And I hope that this is going to maybe open the doors for new projects that that can be delivered for this. It's such a rich IP, and it's unfortunate that everything going on around it is hurting so many people, and people are afraid to pick it up and enjoy it, and they just can't lose themselves into something that they've maybe loved for since they were a child, and they're now thinking I'm going to be attacked if I'm vocal about playing this game but I really want to play this game because I've loved it so much before any of the controversy. And I think that's really, really sad. And I just think, look, if you have been a fan of this, you don't need to justify it to anybody because it's something that you've loved and that you've been looking forward to. And it's just a game at the end of the day. It's a game that you've been looking forward to. You can do whatever you want. Just play it. And don't be made to feel guilty or like you're a horrible person because you've chosen to support something that you love and have loved before anything else came up into the conversation. And I just hope that people can and look at it like that and enjoy it, and that should kind of be the end of it. But I know that will never be the end of it, because that's the nature of things like this.
Yeah, it's obviously it's a huge topic, and it's there's so much going on at the moment. Like there's so many different discussions happening surrounding it. But ultimately, the thing that frustrates me is that I appreciate the strength of feeling people have, etc. But there are cases of people being bullied for picking up a game that they love. There are people who don't have any negative viewpoint of anything, and who don't share any controversial views. They just have loved Harry Potter for a long time, and there are people. I've seen some reports of people who genuinely the Harry Potter universe and immersing themselves in it has become part of their like positive mental health aspect. Like it's something that they lose themselves in to make themselves happy, and they're getting bullied for playing a video game because it's if you play that game you don't support. That's not the case. It's mutually they are mutually.
It's not how the world works. Exactly. No. It's not how the world works. Yeah.
So I had the same thing with World of Warcraft. I've played World of Warcraft for a decade at least now, and I adore the game. And I have my ups and downs with it. As a game in itself, they just fucked it with Shadowlands. Where was the content? Right?
Oh,
so
no.
It was but the Dragonflight, the new expansion, phenomenal. And I'm back to Warcraft, and I'm playing, and I'm enjoying it. And I did bow out of Warcraft for some time, several months when everything happened with Blizzard, because I didn't feel comfortable supporting it. But come the end of the day, I was seeing people playing it, they're talking about the expansion, And for me, something that I do when because I've had my battles with my mental health, and one of the things that I do is lose myself in Azeroth. I will go play World of Warcraft. I will literally spend an hour flying around as a Drake, singing the Flight of Dragons theme tune to myself, and it will make me happy. And I was like, I'm missing out on that for the fact that there are some not so good people with some not so good views within a very large organization who are, my $9.99 for this month isn't gonna sway them as to whether. So I was vocally, I was outspoken about it on Twitter. I was, for all that the good that actually does. I mean, let's face it, everyone's shouting about everything on Twitter. It don't fucking change anything. But that was what I was doing. I was like, I do not support this. However, I want to go be a fucking dragon again. So people just enjoy it. If you want to play it, enjoy it. And it does look so goddamn good. So
I think you'll really, really like it. I'm really surprised at just how good it's turned out to be, and that's a wonderful thing. And I hope it opens the doors for more projects like this that can be celebrated. Okay.
The devs have obviously thrown some love at it. That's for damn sure. So
they absolutely have. They absolutely have. So final topic, Jamie. The Nintendo Direct happened. And can I just say that the year started with Xbox shadow dropping one of the games of the year in Hi-Fi Rush, and nobody was expecting it. Everybody was losing their mind, and it turned out to be an outstanding game. Sometimes when you shadow drop something, it's not always clear. It's like, do they not have faith in the game? Are they just trying to like take it out with the Friday garbage?
Yeah.
There's no furor around it, or there's no marketing budget really behind it. They've just shadow dropped it. It's like, yeah, you can have this now. And Nintendo are like, it's February, hold my beer, because we're going to shadow drop a whole bunch of stuff on you right there, right immediately after this Direct has finished. And I was watching it, like the first 30 minutes, I'm like, yeah, this is all kind of like weird stuff. It's not really for me. I'm like, it's just another standard Nintendo Direct. It's all weird shit that I'm not really interested in. It's great for the gamers that love their JRPGs and their kind of more maybe obscure type of titles. Like, yeah, but this is not doing it for me. I want, like, where's my big bangers? Where's the big Nintendo games?
Yeah.
And then from about the 35-minute mark, that's when the clangor dropped, and then it's like it switched over to be, okay, now this is the real Nintendo Direct that you're here to see. And they opened up at that point by saying the Nintendo, the Switch Online service is getting a whole bunch of Game Boy games, a whole bunch of Game Boy Advance games, and you can play them right now.
Yeah.
And that was like, oh, what? Palpitations of excitement. I could not believe it. It's like, oh my god, okay, now this has become like, sit up, pay attention, this is a must-watch Direct. And then they followed that with a game I have been wanting to get a Switch port of since the announcement or since the release of the Switch, and it is Metroid Prime. And it came out. They had the trailer for that. Again, they could have said coming at the end of the year, coming 2024. No. They said you can play that today, and they shadow dropped it on the store, and it's also getting a physical release on the cartridge. I'll be double dipping. You better believe I'll be double dipping to get the cartridge of Metroid Prime Remastered on, I believe it's February 22nd. And it's getting the physical release. But I was falling off my chair at that point. It's like, finally they did a remaster port of Metroid Prime, and it's been rumored that it has been done for years, but it was, I don't know why they were holding on to it or whatever. Now I'm a little bit disappointed. I'm a little bit, salty that it's just the first game and it's not the entire trilogy. I was hoping for a collection like what they did with the Wii. They put all 3 games on a disc and packaged up for the Wii. It's only the first game. I'm hoping that in fairly quick cadence, especially in the run up to Metroid Prime 4, that 2 and 3 will come out within a year to 2 years, and the entire trilogy will be with us. But Jamie, Metroid Prime is so pretty. It's now, don't go in with your expectations tempered, right? This is not a Demon Souls remake. It's not a Resident Evil remake kind of thing. But for the Switch, You could, like, if you say, okay, comparative with the Switch power to the PlayStation 5 power,
Yeah.
it's like a Last of Us remake job. That's the kind of equivalent. It is so much crisper. There's so much more effects going on. It's now widescreen as opposed to 4:3, which is what it used to be on the GameCube, and even the Wii was still 4.3, 4:3, I should say. It now has dual analog support, so it controls like a proper first-person shooter. It is just glorious because I'm such a huge fan of this masterpiece, and that was it for me. That was the game of the show for me. And I know there's Tears of the Kingdom information and stuff as well, but what I was like, oh my god, this is the best direct that they've done in a long time. I was loving it, absolutely loving it.
It was because I always catch the direct news after I obviously I don't have a Switch, and so I catch up with it after. And I saw the internet sort of go. It's I watched the Twitter trending stuff. So he says, it's fine. Holy fuck! And like, wait, what?
What's happened here? What?
And you're suddenly going, everyone's suddenly talking about the direct, which I know has been on for a while. I'm gonna have to go and check out what's. But yeah, the Prime looks fantastic, and Metroid. I haven't played a Metroid game for some time. It's some years since I played.
Yeah.
I might have had a crack at the trilogy on the Wii, I believe, around a mate's place. But that's about all I remember. And then before that, I played them back in the day. The most exciting thing for me out of all of it was the Metro stuff, because I do want to get a Switch, and I do intend to get a Switch at some point in the not too distant future, because I need to play, if nothing else, I need to play the Pokemon games, I need to play Zelda, because I'm chomping at the bit to get my hands on Breath of the Wild, and obviously Tears of the Kingdom when it comes. But I went and had a look at what they're actually releasing on the Game Boy, and there's 2 titles in there straight away, and I was just like, done, I'm sorted. And it was Tetris. I don't care. I love that Tetris is in, because Tetris is such a simple game, but let's face it, the haunts my dreams.
Yeah.
But more importantly, Link's Awakening, which is just
the OG Link's Awakening. Yeah.
Just such a game, So absolutely,
that remaster came out for the Switch, and it was that was a full remake, and by all intents and purposes, a fantastic remake. But this is like this is the OG, the original one that you can play via emulation, and absolutely great. I mean, Minish Cap is a wonderful handheld title as well. That's the power of Nintendo's legacy, right? That they've got such history and of excellent games, like Super Mario Land on the Game Boy, the green and the black kind of, or the green and like ink blue kind of color scheme because of the screen at the time.
Yep.
That's been getting huge eyeballs on it and interest because it's now on the Switch. And are you kidding me? That's a Game Boy game from 1980 something or early 90s, and people are still drawn to it because it's Nintendo's legacy. And that's still wild that they can just do that. It's really wild.
I actually picked up my old Game Boy, chucked some batteries in it, and chucked on Super Mario Land, which I still have.
Yeah.
Maybe last year at some point, and it holds up for what it is. It holds up. Like it's always difficult to go back to retro games. Like not always difficult. It can be difficult to go back to retro games, because some of them you go back and it's a slower pace of game. It's but Mario hasn't changed. I think that's the thing. Mario's never really changed in the right way. Mario's always maintained its Mario-ness.
Yeah.
It's always had that, those like, you've got to make that fucking jump, and you gotta and, oh no, the thing's coming, I've got to jump and stomp it. That's still in modern Mario games. It's never gone away. So you've still got that feel. So when you go back to an old one, it's just less sparkly.
Yeah.
And it's just fun. It's just fun. And Nintendo, it's a double-edged sword. They do frustrate me at times doing their own things. Obviously, their price points are always a little bit exclusionary sometimes, and then they're left to their own devices too much at times, and so you don't. they can frustrate the fans, I think, a bit, because they're just like, get it when you get it, and you'll hear about it when you hear about it. Just wait. But at the same time, they've got this incredible creative flair, and they do all these wonderful, wonderful titles, and they've got this huge, like you said, this legacy, this massive back catalogue of incredible gaming that is. I don't think there's a gamer alive who hasn't had some sort of Nintendo interaction, even and especially for us as the elder gamers, the old guard, so to speak. Yep. I play PC pretty much exclusively now, and my Xbox occasionally, and yet I have a massive back history with Nintendo. I had an N64, and I had my Game Boy, and I played SNES and NES and all of that around friends' houses. Everyone's got a history with Nintendo.
Yeah.
And now they're bringing, they keep bringing bits of it back. So yeah, I think it's fantastic. But there's some great stuff on there. Link's Awakening.
It's true. I was very fortunate as a kid to have owned all of the Nintendo consoles, apart from the SNES. The SNES was the one that I didn't actually own. During that era, I had a Sega Mega Drive. And then I went back for the N64. But I was very fortunate as a child to the majority of my gaming upbringing was Nintendo, with a little bit of Sega, and then back to Nintendo again. And it's nostalgia for us, certainly. And I think you raise an interesting point about like the mechanics of old school Mario still feels like Mario, even by modern standards of Mario. And I think that also helps because pixel art is timeless. It still looks good even today. Even modern 2D pixel art games, they still look great. Whereas you can't necessarily say that with the advent of when games first went into 3D, and like early polygon stuff, like going back to early 3D stuff can be super rough and not always the best experience, but going back to 2D pixel art stuff is a much, for me anyway, it's a much easier experience, and it still feels and looks fantastic for me because modern pixel art stuff hasn't changed. Like the games that come out that are still wanting to emulate that era look and play fantastic. Yes, they're maybe like the jump controls are maybe like a little bit tighter, the combat is maybe a little bit tighter, but it's still 2D pixel art. And then jumping back to actual pixel art in the 80s and 90s, it doesn't feel like too much of a disconnect. Whereas modern 3D stuff today and early 3D stuff is like, oh, that's a bit ropey. Well, I mean, it's fun for nostalgia purposes, like going back and playing the OG Tomb Raider, for example. But compared to what we expect 3D stuff to be doing now with like traversal and animation and graphics and stuff, it's such a gulf of improvement over the years, over the decades to get to where we are. But pixel art will always be timeless because it's keeping it rooted in that 2D era of what was possible for 8-bit audio, 16-bit audio, but the graphics were always 2D. It could be 16-bit. 16-bit is my favorite era, but it could be way back to 8-bit and early Castlevanias and like really early games and early Turtles games that were on the Game Boy and stuff as well, or on the NES, which look horrible, but there's still something quaint and nostalgia-filled about them that are really, really charming. And it's great to see Nintendo saying, here's all of our legacy, go get it. And we talked last week, actually, about the importance of preserving, and the collections that were coming out, like the Konami Connect collection, like that Wonder Boy collection that we were talking about, like the Turtles collection, which came out again. Konami are for all the shit that they have been doing with Metal Gear Solid and Kojima and their pachinko machines in favor of actual game development, they actually do a fantastic job at cultivating their legacy and preserving their legacy with putting out these little collection of games. The irony is wild for that, but there you go. I mean, I don't know if they're going to... Hopefully they'll do something with Metal Gear Solid. There's rumors that there's going to be a special Metal Gear event this year, so whatever that encompasses, if it's a remaster or if it's a collection or whatever it is. But Konami, if you keep packaging up your legacy games in such a way that you've done with Castlevania and the Turtles games, just keep firing them out and we'll keep buying them, because it's amazing to still be able to get to play these legacy games.
Oh, it's also. I mean, you look at the So again, I've been playing a lot of. Well, basically, I've exclusively been playing retro stuff on stream, and the some of it's Al's. Al is determined to break me, and is making me play through the worst games ever made.
Oh gosh!
Literally. And it's
Too Human on there, yeah. Too Human.
That's on the list. So
yeah.
I've been doing a different game or a couple of games every night so far this year, and I'm doing it for the whole year for children's hospices across Scotland.
Ooh.
So it's an ongoing thing. But some of the stuff he's had me play, fucking ludicrous. And I'm back to, I've been on everything from DOS and Atari. I played the Indiana Jones game on Atari. Now that's an example of how pixel art was not always good.
Sure.
Because nothing is recognizable as anything. I genuinely don't know what I was looking at.
Just noise at that time, yeah.
Just blocks of color and just fucking hideous, terrible. Whoever made it needs beating with a sock with a block of butter in it. But some of the other stuff, like the Super Star Wars games, janky as hell to play and ridiculous. Yeah. Not a great game, I have to say. Super Star Wars, I know there are people out there who's like, it's my favorite game. Good for you. I'm very happy for you. It's horrible. But it is gorgeous, though. Like, the art in it is still gorgeous. It is this beautiful pixel art, and this little pixel Jawa and little pixelated Luke running around and kicking the Jawa off a platform, because you remember that bit in Star Wars when he ran up the side of the sandcrawler and kicked the crap out of the Jawas? But,
yeah, that happened, didn't it?
I seem to have spent a lot of time lately going, you remember that bit in like the Back to the Future games? Again, I played one of the Back to the Future games. The first Back to the Future game on SNES, I think it was, looked beautiful. The pixel art was fantastic. And it's really, the game's crap, but it looked beautiful. Back to the Future 2, one of the worst experiences of my life.
Oh, no.
Terrible. Nearly ruined the film for me. The music is janky, and the graphics are hideous. Like, there are some examples from back when they obviously had bad artists, basically, and I'm really sorry. I couldn't do any better, so it's not fair of me to call it bad, but oh my god, it's awful. But like I said,
the limitations of the time, Jamie. That's what you have to understand. There's limitations of the time.
But the first game looked better. How did that happen? But so that's the thing. Like but pixel art, no matter what happens, like it's a gorgeous style, and there are so many great looking games. And like you said, it doesn't age. It doesn't really, it always looks as good as it looks. It's the same as like we've said about Fortnite, Sea of Thieves, that sort of thing. Anything with anything photorealistic or supposed to be photorealistic, or anything that's supposed to be 3D and representative of the real world, will eventually age poorly.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, we've hit an era where we're starting to get to the point where it's like, I don't know if it'll age poorly. It'll just, people will look back and go, oh, we've got video footage of, no, that's not real.
Those necromorphs actually existed.
Yeah.
Wow. Have you seen the historical archive footage of what happened to Isaac on the Ishimura? Shit.
Pedro Pascal had some shit. No, wait, that's not Pedro. No, I'm confusing the two. But it's interesting that the games that are less realistic, that are done in a more cartoony style and that sort of thing, are always going to look as good as they look now. And so, Sea of Thieves, you'll be 60 years down the line and look at Sea of Thieves and it'll still look pretty, because it's not meant to be realistic. It's meant to be its own art style.
It's a bit more painterly and stuff. Yeah.
And I think the same can be said of pixel art, although it was what was available to us at the time as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that Nintendo actually does really well, because they know that the Switch cannot compete with the latest and greatest hardware on raw power alone, whereas Breath of the Wild has a cel-shaded cartoonish kind of art style.
Yeah.
Wind Waker was a GameCube game. That game still looks fucking timeless because it's so beautiful in its art style. And that's where really strong art direction is so much more important than just emulating what light actually does. And, you know, is this coffee cup on a table rendered so realistically that you can't tell the difference? But yeah, but if you cell shaded it, then you could save so many more other resources to do other stuff. It doesn't have to necessarily be photorealistic for everything, and therefore you can't comprehend what is the game, what is the real world, and things like that. And I mean, some games warrant it. Like if you're like The Last of Us, for example, like Uncharted or other Halo, for example, like they have real people in them. And so if they're trying to show actual actors, then you kind of need to go and really push for photorealism to give it that cinematic gravitas presentation. But then on the other hand, there are plenty of games out there which have a very specific art style with actors and characters and things like that that are just as captivating and just as timeless as well. So it's, you know, depends on the project, I guess, if it warrants it. And it's always amazing to see what a developer can do with really pushing photorealism, but at the same time, you know, the ones that also do really strong art direction in terms of like a cartoon style or a stop motion style. I mean, I was playing it's by a developer who I love, who I've now forgot, Zoink Games, and they did like Zombie Vikings and Stick It to the Man, and they're always highly creative, highly artistically strong, and I've forgotten the name of the game, and that is awful, and I'm gonna really kick myself now, but the entire aesthetic was like a Tim Burton Corpse Bride stop motion animation, and I just know that that's going to be timeless. Like straight away, it's going to be timeless. And it was, I'm going to Google it right now. But it was just a fantastic game. And the fact that it had this art style immediately drew me to it rather than going for photorealism. And bear with me, folks, bear with me. Where's the games? I'm on their website right now. They did, where is it? Oh my God, there were so many games. Lost in Random was the game, and you play this little girl character, and you throw a dice, and it's like a card builder, but it's also real-time combat, and it's got this Corpse Bride aesthetic. And honestly, one to check out. It's like quite a small game, small studio, but highly creative visually, and just a lot of fun. Super different, and the voice acting is really, really fun in it as well. It's that kind of weird Burton-like atmosphere to everything as well, like Nightmare Before Christmas or Corpse Bride or something like that. And again, going off a little bit here, but it's that art direction over. We could actually scan in a little girl and have her properly into the game, and you know. But actually, let's do like stop motion figures like Guillermo del Toro's recent Pinocchio game. Guillermo del Toro's Pokemon could be right. Damn, that could be something. I'll take it. The Pinocchio movie that he did was actually done. You could air quote it live action because it's actual models and figures, but for stop motion animation, and it has a whole other look to it that's super unique. That I was worried that stop motion animation would be a dying art, and I think it kind of is. But one of the greatest of all time was Kubo and the Two Strings was all stop motion, and it was great to see a new Pinocchio movie. I was about to say Pokemon again there. I know a new Pinocchio movie. I want it. I know, done in stop motion, and it's just a very different, timeless aesthetic. Which is funny because you would think, why aren't you just doing it in like a Pixar movie, like a CG? Well, Pixar has its own thing, and it's a very specific look, and like, you know, it's a Pixar movie or you know it's a DreamWorks movie. But if I actually went back and watched Toy Story 1 compared to Toy Story 4, and my God, does it look old?
Oh yeah,
it's still fun. It's still an amazing film, but it looks super old. Whereas stop motion kind of was a bit more forgiving in that regard. Like, go back and watch Jason and the Argonauts or Clash of the Titans, Jamie, and like Ray Harryhausen's stop motion work is still
man was a genius and did some incredible things. And stop motion is definitely, like, obviously, you know, we have Wallace and Gromit and things like that, and obviously they're a little bit different. But stuff like, you look at how Nightmare Before Christmas looks, and then you look at how the new Pinocchio film looks, and you can see the parallel there. You can see how they are very much cut from the same cloth. And yeah, Pinocchio's maybe he uses a few techniques, because have you seen there is a fantastic trailer for it, which actually shows a little bit with Guillermo del Toro talking, and as they're making the film, and you see that they introduce elements of green screening and stuff, but in the background, but they would still animate the individual things, and then green screen them into the film so that they can overlap, and it's really clever. So it's just upgrading the medium. And yeah, but it is, like, I think art direction is probably more important than the actual level of graphical, what would you, the word
like
escapes
the
me.
Technical fidelity. Yeah.
Because the art direction has to come first. They have to know how they want it to look and what they're going to use to achieve that look. And then, for some projects, obviously that will be photorealism, and that will be pushing the limits of the graphical capabilities of the system. And that works, and it's fantastic. And in other things, it's going to be, Thomas Was Alone is a great example. That's just some squares. And it is weirdly pretty and incredibly engaging, even if I will never let Mike Bisseloff for porting it to every system on the face of the planet. So, but yeah, so
same. That's the same with Lovers in Dangerous Space Time. That's one of my favorite ones as well. It's like it's like little objects that depict like the crew or the spaceship. The spaceship is just a giant circle with things in it and blocks in it and stuff like that. And Geometry Wars as well. It's just geometric shapes. That look like fireworks going off. It's like a really strong visual identity that's not necessarily intensive on the needing a graphics card that's a 4090 or something like that to push real-time rendering, ray tracing, and all this other stuff.
Yeah, they knew what they wanted it to look like. They made it look like that with the particular art style, and it works. And so that's the first, the key step. And off the back of that, if you end up with a photorealistic game that looks gorgeous, like something like Last of Us, for example, which is stunning. It's a stunningly beautiful game. Like, the remaster and all that. And Resi 7, like Resi 7 is creepy as fuck and beautiful. It's really well done. And, like, there's tons of examples, and even like like you said, like Halo. Like, Halo's not the pinnacle of graphic capability, probably, but like Halo Infinite, but it's gorgeous. It is a pretty game, and that works because a cell shaded or 2D Halo would not. So obviously
it looked like Fortnite. Just get the Chief in Fortnite and call it the next Halo Infinite 2. There you go.
To be fair, Chief is my current go-to skin in Fortnite, so Isaac's in Fortnite now, by the way.
Oh, I saw that. Actually, I saw that. I think Geralt's now unlocked for season pass holders as well. So.
I have unlocked him.
Yeah.
See, and that's a weird thing, because some of these skins in Fortnite, they look great. Like the Master Chief skin looks like Chief. Just maybe like it looks like Chief. It looks like you've maybe turned the graphics down a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
But Geralt looks different because he's
he's been Fortniteized. Yeah.
And every now and again something pops up and you look at it and think it doesn't quite work. It's kind of weird. But in amongst all of that Isaac skin that they've released now looks properly fucking Dead Space and kind of creepy. So I don't know, like it's interesting, but yeah.
I know. Yeah. Good times to be a gamer.
Oh, there's so much. There is so much. There's too much.
It is too much. And speaking of too much, we're now at an hour 20, so we're going to wrap it there on episode 94, folks. I'm hoping next week Sarah will be back. I think she might be. There's fingers crossed we'll be back to the three amigos together to shoot the shit about gaming news, and we'll hopefully hear all about her travels and her adventures, of which there have been copious amounts of coffee, I believe. So I'm going to be picking her brains about that as a fellow coffee nerd. But anyway, thank you so much for your support on the show. This has been episode 94. We'll be back next week with another episode. Take care, everybody. Enjoy your games, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.